Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Marchuk. Welcome to the Transform Now podcast. Our guest on this episode, our special 300th episode, I'm so excited, is author, speaker, and professor Dr. Al Naqvi, who's the founder and CEO of the American Institute for Artificial Intelligence. AI offers certified Gen AI professional credentials, the C-Gen AI. It's the world's first and only professional certification program for Gen AI professionals. And the AI footprint is not just in the United States, it covers 30 countries. Dr. Naqvi's research has been used to develop the C-Gen AI concept, and it has led AI for 8 years. So I've known him for that long too. He's a great guy. Dr. Naqvi has authored, co-authored, and edited a dozen books on artificial intelligence and spoken at major conferences globally on AI. Dozens of governments and hundreds of companies develop their AI strategy based on his advice. So welcome, Dr. Naqvi. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you so much. And especially on this 300, that's awesome. And your show has actually helped the entire AI profession, not just your company. So I want to let you know that it has been a big piece in development of this industry. So thank you for doing that.
I am so excited to be able to share that, but also to be able to share your wisdom and insight. So now, Al, you've done a lot more than I just gave here. So what did I miss? What are some other highlights that you want to pull out from your past 8 years at AI?
Well, the profession, as you know, has changed dramatically over the years. And anytime you feel comfortable, you say, this is it. Now we have gotten it. And this should be an AI strategy. Next thing you know, you wake up next morning, you open the newspaper or your iPad, and the next thing you know is something new has come out. And it's not something new that's evolutionary. It's something new that is revolutionary. So it just changes everything that has been done before. So almost like you're operating in this perpetual Markov chain model in which you have to develop new strategy every single day. And AI has been at the forefront of doing that, exactly operating in that Markov chain model in which we will look at where we are today and what's the next big thing happening. And we bring that on applied basis for businesses and governments all over the world.
Well, I know since the last time we talked, Gen AI was still an idea. It's been a few years since we've had you on the show. So lots have changed, but how have you seen those changes affect the way people perceive just AI and machine learning in general?
Yes, let me start with a small real story. So a client who invited us to come in and give them some advice, they were looking at a project doing for their brand management, doing sentiment analysis. So take social media data, perform sentiment analysis, and they invited a company, a very reasonable company, to help them develop that. The project came out to be about 6 to 8 months long project that they were going to pursue. $2.8 million investment with top-notch AI talent who would have developed all this sentiment analysis, customized model for them. So the CEO asked us to take a look at that. And now just a few months before that, I would have done exactly what the other firm was proposing. I looked at that and with our team, in about, guess what? Not 15 days, not 15 hours, but 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, we developed an application for them to do sentiment analysis, exactly what they would have gotten for $2.8 million. This time it was just for $20 just to make a point. So the idea is how dramatically this world has changed. And the concept of machine learning or RPA before that and everything, you put all that together on one side, and then you take Gen AI on the other side, and it's dramatic. It's just revolutionary. So you have to go back to the basics. And anyone who thought that they have now finally, and those 5 or 6% of companies who thought that now we got it, now we have an AI strategy, well, sorry, folks, go back and restart the process again, because whatever you did, it's gone now, unfortunately. So that's where we are today.
So I know we talked about AI and ML from in the past tense, and I don't want to say this because it still exists and there's still applications for it, but you claim that Gen AI is the real revolutionary technology here. Why do you say that?
So go back to early days of internet. And in early days of internet, it was only few people had access to it. Only few people understood how to use that technology. It was a revolutionary technology, but it was not a consumer or economic revolution. And then all of a sudden, we figured out that, whoa, you know what? Every one of us can go into this industry and create a company. And that's what launched this internet revolution that, we all know about. And you started thinking, you became creative. People started creating new kinds of use cases, new business models. And that's what sparked the revolution. Well, up until now, even with RPA and with machine learning, including more advanced machine learning, deep learning, in fact, the more advanced it got, the smaller the group of people who knew how to create value from it got. And that included PhDs with AI and AI or other similar majors such as mathematics and all that. So the field was confined to these people. And that's why you can see their rates going up, so these people became more and more expensive to get. And then all of a sudden you heard the first news that came about Gen AI was that these large companies, Amazons of the world, they were laying off people. Which people? No, not business people, but AI people. Those exact PhDs in mathematics and AI were being laid off. And that was a shock to the system. Oh, wait a second. What happened? What happened here? And that's when you recognize that now AI is no longer confined to those PhDs and mathematicians and all that. It has become consumer oriented. That's when revolution starts. Now, everyone has access to AI. Everyone can create applications and business models in AI using Gen AI. And now you will see that spark of creativity and innovation that we saw between 1998 and maybe 2003 during the internet revolution. We'll see that again now. Anyone and people of all ages, all backgrounds, all professions, all sectors, all industries will be jumping into it. That's the revolution.
So it's interesting you brought up that kind of parallel between the early internet and the early versions or the early experiences we're having now with Gen AI, because growing through that experience, initially people were very challenged to say that I trust enough to put my credit card in to buy something online. And now when you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous. Well, of course I put my credit card online. And while we've had countless numbers of breaches out there, the fact is that our credit card companies are kind of protecting us from that. As we look at this Gen AI now, are we going to say the same kind of thing where it's like, oh gosh, why were we so concerned about having Gen AI support us using our data? Or are we going to have a different viewpoint because our data, once it's out, can't be pulled back from something else? Do you know what I mean?
It's the same thing for internet also, that once it's out, it can't be pulled back. The issue, and I think the opportunity that comes with these kind of innovations, especially if business leaders and government is thinking clearly about this, is it creates another opportunity for companies to come in to bring governance models to those kind of business models that protect consumers, that protect people, and policy follows. Now, the important thing is that if we really want good outcomes and minimize damage, then policy must not follow, policy must lead, right? And once we lead with policy, I think what happens is you will see tremendous activity, and people will be protected. Their businesses, their personal information will be protected, but we have to do it right. And yes, it's a problem. So it's a problem that cannot and should not be ignored. So we shouldn't rush into something, even though it is beautiful, as powerful as Gen AI, and ignore all of these other concerns about privacy and human dignity and human rights and jobs and all those things. So yes, there is a path that is that consists of both sides in terms of protecting people as well as advancing technology. And that path is even more beautiful because it creates jobs on both sides. So you have technology advancement jobs, and then you also have jobs that are related to monitoring and also governing and ethics and regulating, all of those things. So I believe that it's an opportunity. It should be seen as that.
Well, it's interesting you say that because let's take a step back to that early age of the internet and the security profession that was born of all of the challenges that people were concerned about, led to now we have the chief information security officer, the CISOs out there who are really focused on that and creating those policies so that as they do roll out new programs or activities, that we do look at the governance of that first. And how is this going to be protected? Within Gen AI, we talk about the evolving of sort of the roles that we're seeing. You talk about a Gen AI professional. Is that something similar?
Gen AI professional is an extremely wide concept of professionals. So we have to start thinking about every one of us, every person, no matter what you do. You could be a plumber, you could be a marketing expert, you could be anyone, a driver. Every one of us will transition into a Gen AI professional. It is just something that's not, it's not that it will not happen. It is happening. And Mark Zuckerberg, I think I just saw his video. He said that every business will have an agent. He's not wrong. Every business will have these automations deployed, and it's a given. And every business means every business, including restaurants, including large companies. So you're looking at
kind of like a web page. Everybody has a web page now.
Every company has a web page, right? So you have this. You will have agents that will help companies in every way you can imagine. So everyone will have that. So what we need to do, the way we think about this, is that if I am a professional today at T0, T1 is the era of Gen AI, which has been launched already. How can I become a professional of Gen AI? How can I transition myself? Now, remember that you don't have to get PhD in AI or PhD in mathematics or complex, derivatives and all those things. Yeah, that's all, story of the past. So someone else has taken care of all that. They will do it for you, but you have the opportunity to create business models now, and that makes you Gen AI professional. So what we are doing is our concept of Gen AI professional is that it requires three things. And you can see major problems that happen with AI revolution were also composed of these gaps in these three areas. What are those three areas? Number one is technical expertise. Obviously, you got to have some level of technical knowledge. Number two, professional standards and ethics, which you have to know. And the third thing is management part of how do you manage projects? How do you conceptualize projects? How do you conceptualize solutions? How do you do requirements analysis for AI? How do you develop use? All of those things come into play. When you blend these three things together, you get a Gen AI professional. So it's not just I know technology. No, you're not a Gen AI professional if you just know technology and you have no ideas of management, you have no idea of professional standards and ethics, or if you just know governance and you have no idea of technology. So we blend all these three things together. That's what creates a professional. And you can look at IBM, for example. Recently, they got fired from McDonald's. McDonald's said, you know what? Okay, you were trying to develop this technology for us, but sorry, technology has changed. So it was not IBM's failure. It was not technology's failure, because technical people were trying to solve that problem using a different approach. And what happened is, that's why you need people who have all three areas. You understand management, so when technology has changed, so that you can think about a better solution. Proper requirements, you look at the total span of technologies that are available to you, and all of those things you go into play, including ethics and professional standards and your technical expertise. When all three come together, that creates a Gen AI professional. That's what we are trying to do.
Gotcha. So with these folks who are becoming more adept at understanding both the technology, but also the business side, how can they help organizations help the executives within the organizations develop this strategy? Because strategy itself is something that we like to think in a different way about. It's one thing to say, I know how to manage the technology, I know how to manage the components, but setting that strategy, how should they be developing this Gen AI strategy?
That's an area that is so underdeveloped across all sectors, all industries, governments. And this is an area in which I spent most of my time, last 8 years of throughout the AI revolution, focused on that. We need to have that strategic orientation. You said how they can advise executives. Well, executives themselves also need to think in those terms. So it's all levels of management, including executives. Just as when you go for your MBA, you are taught this strategy course, or when you go through military school, you're taught military strategy course, right? So there's a strategy part of business. There's a strategy part of military. Similarly, there's a strategy part of technological transformation. So what this means for you and what this means for your business, what this means for your organization, what this means for the world, that is the strategy part. Now, when you look at Gen AI, two things have happened, and both are profound changes. Number one is that everything that you thought was your strategy for machine learning, MLOps, and RPA and all that, now it's challenged, right? So there is, because you have the projects. In fact, I was talking to a CIO who mentioned this to me, that, look, all these projects we started, now we have to look at them again and reevaluate which ones of them can be done with Gen AI, so we don't have to spend these millions of dollars to do those projects. Transformation happened, right? Huge. So now you're looking at your entire inventory of what you already thought was part of your AI strategy, and now you're reevaluating them. That's one part. The second part is, well, what if none of these exist? The only thing that exists is Gen AI. How would my business strategy look like? How will my agency strategy, if I'm government, would look like with Gen AI? What can I do with Gen AI? That's the other part. So then you have to blend both of them. This is what I was doing in AI in general, with machine learning, with RPA and all that. And this is what I can do with Gen AI, my range of possibilities, my vision for the world, for the future of my company or my agency. You blend both of them, and on the other end, what you get is your then Gen AI transformation strategy. That's what everyone needs to do. Every executive needs to do that. Every company needs to do that. Every organization needs to do that. Every government agency needs to do that.
Well, that makes sense to review that and understand it from a broader perspective. And as you mentioned, this isn't just technology. It isn't just about the business or the function that agency or company is attending to. Because right now we have the capabilities right now, generally speaking, are handled by humans, right? So people are doing a lot of the activities that are functioning within here. But as you look at AI surpassing the performance in terms of the capabilities from benchmark tests and whatnot, what roles are you seeing humans transition into in this AI-driven industry? And how do we prepare from that in a responsible, ethical way?
Oh God. I mean, everything you can imagine will change, right? So we are looking at, so if you take any profession, take finance, all this trading part, the way it happens today, you apply Gen AI analysts that can perform so many analysis that humans can't even begin to understand. You look at audit, for example, in which entire audit plan development, controls, checklist development, all of those things, customer analysis, client analysis before when you undertake a project, all of those things you start putting together, and you have every profession, healthcare, supply chain management, and you name an industry, you name a sector, marketing, all of those are transforming. And you are also transforming in terms of your career, your profession. You have to look at all of those things in terms of, if you go to AmericanAI.com, our website, you can see we have dozens and dozens of jobs listed in terms of for what profession will look like, so people can start training for that. So for example, you mentioned, there'll be someone who will be Gen AI content manager, Gen AI architecture management, Gen AI requirements planner, Gen AI analyst, Gen AI prompt engineer. So you can start thinking about these, and there are so many different roles that are emerging. And these roles are not just for technology people. I keep repeating that because this revolution is just, it's not just for tech people, it's for everyone. It's just like internet. Yes, you need to know technology. Obviously, it's a technology revolution, but everyone has a role in it. Everyone can play a role in it. So when you think about personal transformation, your career, and also security for your financial security, for your career security, for your family's future, and the way it depends on your career and your career prospects, you need to have a plan on how you will transition into a Gen AI professional. It's not a choice that maybe I will not do it. Whether you do it or not, it will happen. And there were times, people who are my age, they know, and we work with executives. So if this is another true story, I worked with an executive who actually said that it's not possible that email will replace snail mail because there's just so much happening in snail mail. Email will die out as an industry. And same thing about internet. And they used to say that, well, now our salespeople don't need brochures. They have, our salespeople because we have a website. So that was the limitation of their thinking. They were just thinking it's just about email and website as a brochure. But as you and I know now, we saw the transformation that internet made. The same exact thing you will see now.
I like those parallels, but Gen AI as a tool or as a concept and as an implementation has certain strengths, and people have other strengths. We also have tools that we've been using for a while. Think about workforce orchestration with BPM models, RPA, machine learning, traditional AI. How do you see that mix changing as we adopt Gen AI?
It has to become almost as a syndicate of technologies. You always have to think about this. So these technology, and including expert systems, they have a role also. So even though it's an ancient technology by some comparison, but yes, all of those systems have a role. But that simply means that your strategic orientation needs to be even more, because you cannot put that syndicate together. You can't put all of these things together unless you have that understanding of that strategic orientation on what my future business processes look like. So you can't even just apply the regular business process re-engineering model, because if you just take the traditional BPR approach, it focuses on existing processes. Yet now your AI has enabled you to reconceptualize what business process means with multimodal Gen AI. Think about that. What's the limitation? So you have to take a step back and become creative, very imaginative. You have to start thinking that, create a new view of the world, and then bring it down into what each process would look like. Don't start with BPR. Yes, that was possible when it was simple automation. But when you have this transformational automation that's going on, start thinking very, very creatively. And I give this example, a very simple example, that when you go to a grocery store and you are walking in an aisle, when you're trying to make your decision what to buy, it's not like two people are standing on your, sitting on your shoulders and guiding you. Hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And you can't jump from aisle 21 to aisle 7 instantaneously. You have to walk, right? But recommendations engine, it does that. It's constantly reminding you, hey, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And it has no constraints when it jumps from aisle 7 to aisle 21, or 21 to 7, whatever. The point being that you have a new business process that didn't exist before. So if you're simply automating your existing processes without thinking about what the possibilities are, you would have missed that. You wouldn't even have thought about that. So that's why it's important to take a step back, become super creative, start thinking in terms of imagination, creativity, figure out the best way possible. That's where we're going with this.
And that makes a lot of sense. It also kind of begs the question, how do you know what to be creative with if you don't understand it? So that's getting back to that education, understanding what are the capabilities of this tool as well as other tools that I might be able to have at my disposal, so that when I'm creative, I can take the whole of all the parts and put them together in my mind to actually put something that is creative together that didn't exist before, that thinks outside of the boxes that we've generated for ourselves related to the current technologies and what they're capable of, or maybe our past experience with those technologies, not necessarily understanding their full breadth of them.
Yeah. And I would say that, Michael, if any time, that guy or girl who didn't receive much attention because they were so super creative in corporate world, because you just thought they were just out of whack thinkers, the poets and artists and all that. And, you just gave them these little tasks to do because the world was occupied by those managerial kind of people, process-oriented people and technology people and technical people who are, both very left-brain thinkers. Well, guess what? You got to bring them back now. You have to bring that kind of talent back in corporate world, the pure conceptualization and imagination, creative content producers, these people who can think about ideas breakthrough. And sometimes those ideas will be crazy. And sometimes you will think that, what are they even talking about? But eventually some of those ideas that will come out will be the right kind of ideas for you. So that part is important, and it's okay. I think that we have become so accustomed to very stationary, non-dynamic thinking that we are scared to propose fundamental changes or revolutionary thinking, and especially in corporate world. And I think that if we want to create our future, a bright future for ourselves and our companies, we need to break away from that mindset. We have to become super creative. That goes for our governments also. If we want to truly make progress.
Wait a second here. You said governments and creativity in the same breath. I need you to clarify that one.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, it's possible. Let's just say that there was a time when we were not that surprised when our government proposed some creative solutions. After all, these were the people who helped put a person on the moon. So, by all means, creativity when it's possible in a responsible government. So hopefully we can get back there. The same thing, I think, with companies also, that companies also have not been that creative and that bold and courageous, except tech sector, which has been obviously Silicon Valley. But now I think that every company has to embrace that tech type creativity and not be afraid of that. That's the only way to go forward.
I agree with that. So final question, put your thinking cap on and think about this whole concept of the singularity, AI becoming conscious. What are your thoughts on A, will that happen? And B, if you do think it'll happen, when it will happen?
Well, I think that we're still not close to it, right? Because despite all you see in LLMs, it's simply predicting the next word, so it's not really intelligent as humans are intelligent. And humans have emotions. They have the ability to understand emotions. They have obviously survival instincts and fear and dread and awareness of death, which it plays a huge role in humans, how we act and everything that we do. So this technology is not close to it. Now, AG, if it ever goes to that level, which is probably some scientists think about 20, to 30 years away. And some are more aggressive. They think that in the next 4 or 5 years, but I doubt it very much that it can acquire human type of intelligence, because human type of intelligence, either through creation based on your belief or evolution, has gone through certain perfection mechanism over centuries and thousands of years actually, and that is not possible to replicate in a machine in a very short time. And all those our emotions, our fears, and all those things that we think are negative actually in a way prove to be positive, because they make us human and they make us more complete. And I think that these machines, even they start thinking, that logical part are trained on that, I don't think that they will be able to replicate those emotions. So far, I think we're safe. But if that happens, if it goes in that direction, I think that we need to become very, very cautious of that, and maybe even try to stop those kind of projects if it risks that, because it will definitely become dangerous. And for one small reason, that if I ask you, Michael, to name 10 people who made top-notch inventions in medicine, and you will not be able to name 10 people. But if I ask you to name 10 generals in human history or war leaders, you will produce a list in no time, starting from Julius Caesar to all the way up until now. You will come up with that list, which means that there is vast amounts of human literature, and our fascination with violence and wars and all that has been a huge part of our life. And as these machines are trained on everything that is human, they will also acquire that fascination with violence instead.
Yeah, I remember why Tay got shut down. Okay, I remember that.
Exactly. So we need to be careful with that. But I think that so far these LLMs, they may look like, they may feel like, but they have no human tendencies or elements to, it's just a very fancy prediction model.
Well, I saw the movie I, Robot, and so I am getting more terrified as we start building out humanoid robots that are doing work in our factories and whatnot. So,
but robots lost in that, remember? Humans won. So that's the good news. That's why I say that humans are far more advanced. It was very easy to beat robots.
Well, that is a good one to end. So I really appreciate you talking with us today, Dr. Al, because you have gone.
Well, thank you.
You've seen a very big, broad viewpoint from the early stages of AI, and now as we transition to Gen AI, you've really been able to bring that breadth of knowledge in and understand its context, both in the commercial, but also a human kind of perspective. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Well, I appreciate it too. And your company, I hope, and I know that you're working on those projects in which you're trying to develop that comprehensive view of AI, which will benefit your clients a lot. It will be, I think, tremendously valuable, both for your clients as well as for the entire industry.
I sure hope so. Thanks again.
Okay. Well, thank you.